In the first half of this year, we have had more farms go into bankruptcy than we had in the entirety of last year. Donald Trump's policies are directly harming our farmers, and that means that it harms each and every one of us, as prices at the grocery stores will reflect this. I think a lot of people didn't realize that tariffs would cause grave harm to our farmers, because it makes sense. We grow crops in this country, so tariffs should be good for our crops. The only problem is a lot of fertilizer and other things that we need to grow our crops comes from Canada. And because of the instability caused by Donald Trump's trade war with Canada, our farmers have not been able to get fertilizer at reasonable prices. Compounding that is the fact that their labor market for our farmers is in hiding because of ICE. Now, I'm sure that Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about this. He and his elite billionaire buddies want these farms to go bankrupt so that corporate farms can take over these farms, and then they can use people from Donald Trump's concentration camps to harvest these crops, and they will not make it cheaper for us. They'll just take a bigger profit margin for themselves. So when you start seeing really high grocery prices in the near future, just remember, it's all Donald Trump's fault.
They voted for Trump twice. They cheered his tough talk on immigration. They believed he was fighting for the American worker. But now, they're losing everything. Their farms, their homes, their hope. In just the 3 months of 2025, 55% more farmers filed for bankruptcy than the entire year of 2024. Most of them white rural Trump voters, and the irony, they are collapsing under the very policies they voted for. Across Midwest, families who have farmed for generations are now being forced to auction their land, sell off equipment, and give up their way of life. Let's get to see the reactions, then we come back with a complete analysis about this topic.
Hey MAGA voters, this message is for you. I know how excited you guys get every time one of these undocumented immigrants is stripped away, actually physically pulled away from their little children or their wives or their husbands and detained and put into a concentration camp surrounded by alligators and serpents. I know that gets you really excited, but I just thought I'd give you a quick lesson in macroeconomics, especially for those of you that have no money. You're about to go broke, and I'll tell you why. See, here's the thing about America. Undocumented immigrants are a fundamental piece of our economy. It will not work without them. See, many of these people, most of them, pay taxes. They get few benefits, but they do actually pay taxes. They grow the gross national product, and they hold the fabric of America together by doing jobs that spoiled Americans will not do. Okay? This also causes inflationary pressure, which means everything is going to get a lot more expensive. So every time you celebrate one of these poor people being detained and deported, just keep in mind, you're one person closer to going broke. You're going to lose everything you have. And remember who you voted for. You voted for someone who doesn't even know what macroeconomics means, doesn't know the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics, okay? You voted for a dunce, and he's going to be your undoing. But keep in mind that he's really rich, and all the people in the GOP that are sucking up to him, see, they're really rich too. So I hope you're really rich, because if you're not, you're going to go broke, and you're only going to have yourself to blame. Have a good day.
55% increase in farm bankruptcies. Yes, farmers, a 55% increase in family farm. Most farmers voted for the Trump administration again, despite what Trump did to farmers in his first term. If you are unaware, farmers and cattle ranchers are projected to lose $49.5 billion just in 2025, according to USDA for agriculture. Farmers have lost soybean, they have lost corn, cattle ranchers have lost beef. So yes, farm bankruptcies are up, and I believe likely are going to get worse because I don't think these countries are coming back, if ever, at least until Trump is gone. So no, most farmers, most small businesses are not going to be able to hang on that long. This is another hard FAFO for farmers. And unfortunately, what can you do because they repeatedly vote Republican?
I don't care. I don't care, and majority of us with hearts and brains and knew what this man was going to do and what it was going to cost people, including you Texas farmers, yet we don't care. You hated people so much, even your own workforce, so much that you voted for this man and went against your own self-interest. And I don't feel sorry for people who continuously do that. And that is majority of us is at the bottom. Majority of us are at the bottom. We are not the 1%. We are not the billionaire class. We are the working poor. All of us basically are the working poor. And you voted against your own self-interest because of your hate. And you thought that black people was going to come and work at these farms? No, shove that idea up your ass. And I'm being very serious. And I'm saying that in the nicest way as possible, as I can. It's not going to happen. You voted against your own workforce. Immigrants are the backbone of this United States of America. And you allowed this man to do all of this. You voted for this. So you guys can lose your farms, lose your equipment, lose everything, especially your land. So these billionaires can come up and buy your land for pennies on the fucking dollar. This is what you get for voting for your hate. Your ignorance couldn't allow you to vote for someone amply qualified for the job. And now you got a set of people that is in this administration that is DEI hires, not qualified at all in any way for the jobs they are placed in. And it's costing you everything. Have the day you voted for.
So the farmers in America, they lost all their workers because they got deported. And then they voted for Trump. And then they lost a lot of the grants because this guy Musk has been, cleaning out and he's taking from the poor. The farmers can't pay their bills. They're having to sell. And J.D. Vance set up a company so that he could buy farms. They're buying all the farms in America, just like they did with all the private houses. Oh, you guys are so smart. You're brilliant. Can't make this. Okay, I have positive news. Here's the positive news. Decades of proud ignorance that you've had is coming to an end.
So I found this, and it says more U.S. farmers filed for bankruptcy in the first 3 months of 2025 than in all of 2024. The 259 filings marked the highest yearly total since 2021. This can't be true, is it? Unfortunately, it is, because this comes from a farming website where it says farm bankruptcies this year already exceed 2024 levels. More farms nationwide filed for bankruptcy in the first 3 months of the year this year than across the entirety of 2024. 259 filings in the first 3 months. And the article cites the person who is talking and a research study from Arkansas. And it is devastating. But I think there was somewhere, did I hear about this, that was going to possibly happen with Donald Trump back in office? Maybe that was us who were talking about it. Because there was warnings of this. That bankruptcies for farmers and farms going out of business would hit an all-time high because of Donald Trump, his tariffs, and the way he does things. At what point are the MAGAs going to admit Donald Trump is doing more harm than good? You couple this with just destroying food from the USAID for people who need it instead of giving it out. He's not on a very good roll right now. Well, I would say he's not on a good roll ever, but that's me. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is good? What do you think the MAGAs are going to say about this? Are they going to say anything about this?
Well, you know what I've been waiting to see? I've been waiting to see the farmers. I've been waiting to hear from them. Yeah. Because unless the federal government sneaks them some money, their pain is starting to hit home. This year, in the first 3 months, 82 farmers filed for bankruptcy. Yeah. 82. That's twice as many as last year in the first 3 months. I have not seen a report for the second 3 months yet, but I'm expecting that to be double what the 82. Yeah. Now remember, 82 filed in the winter months. Yeah. We haven't got the harvest month yet. Yeah. So all they're doing right now is trying to secure their mortgages, filing bankruptcy on their debts, trying to hold on to their properties. But the pain is going to get real as we move into the fall and winter months. If they don't have crops to sell, and they don't have substance to sustain them, and they're hemorrhaging money, they will cry. They will cry. And I'm not wishing anybody bad luck, but if this is what you voted for, then I don't have a problem with you feeling the pain. Can I get an amen? Amen. Amen. Amen.
Most of these farmers supported Trump in 2016, again in 2020, and even after everything, many backed him in 2024. Why? Because they believed he would make America great again. But now, the promises are broken, the barns are empty, and many are realizing the cost of blind loyalty. One of Trump's loudest campaign promises was to deport undocumented immigrants, and he followed through raids, arrests, deportations. The workforce that sustained America's farms was wiped out. These weren't just any workers. They were the backbone of U.S. agriculture. Migrant workers, mostly from Latin America, the Caribbean, and Africa, made up over 73% of the field labor. In many states, white farmers knew this. They relied on immigrant labor, but many still cheered the mass deportations, believing immigrants were stealing jobs. Now, no one is left to harvest crops. Crops are rotting in the fields. Fields go unattended. Costs rise, and bankruptcy follows. What's happening now is more than economic collapse. It's a moral reckoning. Many of these same farmers are now blaming the government for their collapse, a government they supported. On forums and town halls, Regret is starting to creep in. Some admit they didn't think it would go this far. Others still double down, blaming immigrants even when they desperately need them. But the truth is plain. You cannot destroy the labor force and expect the economy to survive.
And why don't I hire Americans? The simple answer is we can't get the workers. No American ever calls. No American ever shows up. That's why we are so grateful for the guys that are willing to come and do the work here on the farm. We can't do this without them.
From farms to factories, restaurants to construction sites, immigrants keep America running. Without them, the economy stalls. And no one is hurt more than the very people who once called for their removal. In the agricultural industry alone, immigrant labor generates billions in output. They are not stealing jobs. They are doing jobs others refuse to do. Deporting immigrants didn't make America stronger. It made it weaker. And now, the cracks are showing in rural America first. What's happening now is a warning. When policies are driven by hate instead of logic, everyone loses. When you build policies on fear rather than facts, the very hands that feed the nation go missing, and the people left behind are the first to suffer. Immigrants are not the problem. They've always been the solution. Maybe now, in the face of bankruptcy, poverty, and collapse, some will finally realize that this is not just about farmers. It's about truth, about choices, and about the future of America's soul. If you found this story eye-opening, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to Walk in Africa, where we expose truth from a global Black perspective. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next video.